Welcome. I trust you're well. Thanks for joining me. I'll be sure and make it worth your while. Today I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about a critical consumer insight. Underpinning all of my videos and podcasts are two key principles. Firstly, to be ethical, marketing and business more generally must be customer-centric. There are few things less ethical than trying to shove a product that is neither wanted nor needed down the throat of an unsuspecting consumer. And secondly, to maximise profitability and performance more generally, business and marketing in particular needs to be customer-centric. Customer-centric marketing is the key to maximising initial sales, margins, the average transaction, repeat business rates, and referral rates. Hi there, I'm John Carlson and I've been advising businesses big and small all around Australia since 1980. I specialise in strategic planning. My background is in psychology, education and business. My passion is developing branding, marketing, culture and communication strategies, drawing on all that is known about consumer behaviour with the aim of maximising the return on investment in marketing. I believe that the return on investment in marketing is maximised when the customer is at the centre of the strategic planning process. While many businesses claim to be customer-centric, my experience is that few are. Most businesses are focused on themselves and their own requirements, resulting in higher marketing costs and a lower average lifetime value per customer. While this might be a problem for these businesses, it is an opportunity for any business prepared to put the effort into being customer-centric. Indeed, customer centricity can readily develop into a strategic competitive advantage for many businesses. To find out more about me and this philosophy on marketing, please visit www.djohncarlsonesq.com. That's www.djohncarlsonesq.com. If you have any comments or suggestions about this video, please email me at johnc@linkintegrated.com. That's johnc@linkintegrated.com. Today's video is sponsored by Outre, the consultancy that makes digital simple. Outre has built and maintained websites for me while providing ongoing SEO, digital advertising and social media services. I recommend Outre highly. To find out more about Outre, please visit www.outre.com.au. That's www.outre.com.au. And now to that consumer insight. In the year 2000, psychologists Sheena Engar from Columbia University and Mark Lepper from Stanford University published a paper describing research replicating an earlier study undertaken in 1995. The new study was entitled "When Choice is Demotivating." The paper reported on a study involving two samples of consumers visiting a supermarket. Sample 1, when visiting the supermarket, were confronted with 24 choices of jam. Sample 2, when visiting the supermarket, were confronted with 6 choices of jam. The questions in the study were twofold. Firstly, which sample generated the greatest amount of interest? And secondly, which sample generated the highest level of sales? And the results were as follows. 1. Significantly more people stopped to look at the display involving 24 jams than the display involving 6 jams. So the more jams on display, the greater the likelihood individuals will stop and look at the display. Secondly, some 3% of the sample viewing the 24 choices of jam made a purchase. In other words, 97% of those viewing the 24 choices of jam didn't make a purchase. Thirdly, some 30% of the sample viewing the 6 choices of jam made a purchase. That is, 10 times more people made a purchase when there were only 6 choices of jam. And fourthly, the value of the jam sold from the display of 6 jams was 10 times higher than sales from the display of 24 jams. So what do these findings tell us? What do they mean? Well, I would argue they demonstrate 2 things. Firstly, that big displays with a multitude of choices are more likely to attract attention. And that's a good thing, right? But secondly, smaller displays with a very limited number of choices attract more sales. And that, from my perspective, is what it's all about. It is clear from both the 1995 and 2000 studies that increasing the choices available to consumers is not always the best approach to maximising sales. Indeed, these studies, like a number of others like them, suggest that in a retail environment, between 3 and 7 choices is about optimum. Whilst the number of choices varies from product to product and environment to environment and industry to industry, it is evident from this research and indeed other research that limiting the number of choices is better than maximising the number of choices. But why is this so? Well, a study published in 2015 by Alexander Chernov, Ulf Bockenholt and Joseph Goodman suggested as follows. 1. Consumers respond better when the choice is easier. That is, they buy more when it's easier to make a choice. Secondly, the more complex a product or the choice, the less choices the consumers want available to them. Thirdly, consumers are less likely to make a purchase when it is difficult to compare the choices. And fourthly, consumers are less likely to make a purchase when they don't have a clear preference to start with. So what does this all mean? What does it tell us? Well, I'd argue that there are 2 implications of this research. Firstly, it is easier to make a choice when the options are fewer, and this in turn will mean sales will be higher when the options available are fewer. And secondly, consumers are essentially lazy, and the easier it is for them to make a choice, the more likely they are to make a choice in that environment. Curiously, researchers also suggested that people who were confronted with the 6 choices of jam and made a purchase were significantly more satisfied with their purchase than those people who were confronted with 24 choices of jam and made a purchase. It would seem that people who were confronted with 24 choices and made a decision to purchase were far more likely to wonder if they'd made the right choice than were people confronted with just 6 choices. So the fewer choices you offer, the greater the level of satisfaction with the purchase made, and the more choices you offer, the greater the likelihood that there'll be a low level of satisfaction. Put simply, firstly, fewer choices tends to be easier and therefore leads to a higher volume of sales. Secondly, fewer choices tends to lead to higher levels of satisfaction and therefore higher levels of repeat sales or repeat business. So taking all of that into account, my advice is, 1, work with your customers to determine the optimum number of options. 2, when determining the number of options to offer your customers, think fewer rather than more. And thirdly, always remember that consumers want it to be as easy as possible to make a purchase. In closing, effective marketing involves causing a group of human beings to behave in a manner consistent with the achievement of key objectives for the first time, the last time, more often or less often, while maximising the perception of value. Cost-effective marketing requires a customer-centric approach that leverages all that is known about consumer behaviour and then The alignment of this knowledge with consumer, community, social, marketing and technology trends to develop an effective strategy. Never underestimate the power of customer-centric marketing to drive performance, and never underestimate the centrality of customer-centric marketing to ethical business. I work with clients to understand consumer needs, wants and expectation, gather together customer insights, and then develop strategies that leverage the power of consumer behaviour to maximise return on investment, whilst at the same time embracing the ethics of customer-centric marketing. To find out more about this, please visit www.djohncarlsonesq.com. That's www.djohncarlsonesq.com, or call me, John Carlson, on 0402 273 350. That's 0402 273 350. I'm John Carlson, and I'm atoning for my years in advertising. I look forward to talking at you again, although I suspect it would be a great deal more fun to chat over a pot of tea.